Good news, everyone. It turns out that those colossal shitlibs, led by donkeys, have actually become based because all of a sudden they've admitted that they are in favour of deportations in theory as a case of punishment for people that they dislike. So this is very good. This is progress. Now that we can agree that deportations are justified in some cases, now we can get down to the particulars and brass tacks of who exactly should be deported. So you can see here in one of their usual juvenile little stunts that they've put on this exhibit, which basically has a list, like a French Revolution list of people who need to be sent to Mars, basically. It's like the Australia solution, but for the space age. So you've got the tech bros want to go to Mars, so we're sending them there. Well, first of all, of course, the one thing that we know is led by donkeys hate millionaires, billionaires, and really just anyone with aspirations, success, genius, intelligence. And so I'm telling you now that these people are not sending you anywhere because they could never build a rocket. They would look at all of the people, the underlying talent behind Musk and SpaceX and Bezos's rocket program, and they would just look on it with seething envy, and rather than push them to have actual aspiration, they would just want to drag everyone down until we're back living in their own shitlib reality in London. So, but there are some really funny names on here as well. They mention the fact that they want to basically put Putin, Liz Truss, former Prime Minister of 43 days. She's up there. No grooming gang victims, no rape gang victims, no nonces, no just traitorous enemies of Britain. None of them. To be fair, he also wants to send Boris Johnson as well, which I could get behind, actually. I'm not against sending Boris Johnson on a one-way trip to Mars, to be honest with you, so long as he took the entire Boris wave with him. But this is just the total lunacy, because Glastonbury, as many people know, being this annual music festival in Britain, and it's just become such a hive mind of scum, wretched hive of scum and villainy. And even though on the face of it, you would think, oh, well, it's really quite straightforward. I go online, I buy a ticket, a very overpriced ticket, and I'll go to the festival for a few days, see all these big acts. Well, it's not quite that simple, really, because you kind of have to have at least a level of toleration for just being bombarded from every side by every just nonsensical political message of the time, right? It's just inane and relentless. And so I just want to talk a bit about this particular thing led by donkeys. They said they'll send them to Mars whilst we party on Earth. And they also obviously want to send Trump, Zuckerberg, Bezos. But the thing is, right, there is no actual internal consistency to anything that they say, right? Their entire premise for who they want to get rid of, right? They would dispel everyone's from society who doesn't meet their ideological levels of purity. And loathed as I am to admit it, the soy boys that led by donkeys are actually English. And so by my own rationale, I would have to keep them here on this island with me. But to be honest with you, when we win, and we will, it'll be very good for led by donkeys. I think it'll be a slow method of quite cathartic. Well, it'll be cathartic for us, it'll be torture for them, to just have them continue to live in a more homogenous, safe Britain. And they'll hate it, obviously. It'll be the ruin of everything because all they want is crime and exotic food. But, we'll just have to agree to disagree on that front. But this is remarkable. There's also this Block 9, led by donkeys and national heroes. They consistently call out bullshit on behalf of the people of the UK. Their activism sits perfectly alongside the other Block 9's own values, and we're delighted to work with them on this collaboration. Right, but the thing is, right, they never actually call out power. Right, you know, they have actually put Starmer on this. Starmer's going to Mars too, by the way, purely because of his Island of Strangers speech, which he actually just walked back recently. So I don't know. Maybe he won't be deported after all. Maybe a few human rights lawyers will try and stop Keir Starmer from being deported to Mars. Who knows? We'll see how it goes on this fictional rocket ship. But the other thing as well is that it's not just the rocket. It's, you know, the trans stuff and the Extinction Rebellion stuff. Obviously, the French Revolution was an astonishingly good thing that didn't do anything wrong and definitely didn't end up eating its own, didn't end up having most of the people killed in it just being ordinary citizens and not the aristocrats. Right, but these people aren't students of history. They just have a natural hatred of the rich, of the powerful, of people who, frankly, you know, for good or ill, will be remembered by history far more than these imbeciles ever will. And there is also just the other point to bring up, which is that Glastonbury itself, for all their politics, and it's an obvious point to make, but Glastonbury is far better defended than an RAF base, Brize Norton, which was recently broken into by Palestine Action. And is certainly, Glastonbury is also better defended than the English Channel. Now, this is, of course, a point that comes up all the time, but they don't really seem to address it. They don't seem to address that they actually have this safe space, that Glastonbury is just a safe space for their unreality, right? It's where reality goes to die. Glastonbury is reality's graveyard. And they will not, under any circumstances, come to terms with the fact that, well, they have their unreality in there, but outside of those very big, very fortified walls that protect them in Glastonbury, there is an entire British public out there becoming more and more furious by the tirade of abuse and slander and injustice that people who are defended constantly by led by donkeys and Hope Not Hate and all these other just scum, really, just scum. Constantly defend. They defend the worst people in society against the virtuous, ordinary citizens of Britain. And so, who knows? Maybe in an Anglo future, in the Anglo-futurist 24th century, we'll have our own space program, and we'll be able to send our own unwanted into space. Maybe we'll have our own penal colony on Mars, just like the Australia solution of the earlier imperial age. So what a remarkable, what a fascinating modern age we live in.